Hey, what's going on? If you are watching this video when it releases, then Happy New Year to you. If you're watching it some other time, then happy whatever the closest holiday or celebration is. Easter, Valentine's Day, Cinco de Mayo, Labor Day, 4th of July, whatever that is, happy that to you. And if it's your birthday, then happy birthday to you as well. But if you're watching this when it comes out originally, then you know this is a time of year when people set goals. Financial goals, weight loss goals, vocational goals. And in fact, if I see one more sponsored social media post inviting me to join your 3-day manifesting challenge, I'm gonna throw up. Now, listen, I don't even know what manifesting is, but I do know that I believe in goals. But if you know me well enough at all, you know that I believe that we get to where we want to be, whether it's in relationship or anywhere else, through intentionality and habits, not through, quote, manifesting. So leave me alone with your manifesting stuff. Here's what I believe for couples. I believe it is vitally important that couples have a clear vision and specific goals for their marriage in order to ensure relationship success. Without that, I do think relationships die, relationships erode, and eventually you want to get out of the relationship. So what I want to do in this video is I want to give you 6 categories to consider when thinking about goals for your marriage, and I want to give you 6 questions that will help prompt or lead you to fill out those goals. That's what we're going to talk about today on Relationshots. Hey, welcome to Relationshops. Eric Wooten here. If this is your first time, hit the subscribe and bell notification. If you want a free guide to intimacy, you'll see a link in the description area below. If we can help you in any area of your relationship and be a part of your journey, let us know. You'll see a ton of resources in the description area below. But let's talk about goals. Why are goals even important for a couple? Hear this if you don't hear anything else in this video. If your relational pain becomes greater than your relational purpose, you will want out of your marriage. I'm going to say that again. If your relational pain becomes greater than your relational purpose, you are going to want out of the relationship. That's why it becomes so important for couples to actually have a vision and some goals for their relationship. So I want to give you 6 relationship categories. I want to give you 6 questions to ask within those categories that will help you if you want to establish both some personal and relational goals. And so you'll see when we go through the categories, some of these are individual, but I think it's important for your spouse to know your individual personal goals so they can support you in those as well and know what you're trying to do individually and how that relates to the growth in the marriage. But what happens with a lot of couples is if they do not have goals, what you're going to do is you're going to evaluate your relationship based on how you are feeling right now in the relationship. So if I'm not feeling cared for, if I'm not feeling loved the way that I'm supposed to be loved right now, if I've got no purpose and no goals, I'm going to evaluate the relationships negatively, and then the negative self-talk starts, and there's the end of your relationship. Because once you start having a conversation with you about yourself negatively about the relationship, nobody can stop that, right? And what you say to yourself about your relationship may at times be more important than your actual experience in the relationship. So positively speaking of and thinking of your relationship is going to help you and serve you in the long run. But if we have some goals, now, what goals help us do is goals will help us not to do what our tendency is oftentimes in a relationship, and that's to catastrophize whatever's going on, right? Oh my gosh, we haven't had sex in, 6 weeks. This relationship's going nowhere. No, you're probably just not being intentional. You may need to have a conversation about that, and you may need to figure out why. If you've got some goals, if you have a purpose, if you have a vision, you can overlook the small disappointments, the frustrations, the hurts in a way that you will not be able to do if you don't have goals, a purpose, a vision for your relationship. So I want to give you 6 categories, and what we did within our Altered Marriage membership. Every month we do a challenge in our community, and the goal setting challenge was how we ended the year and how we'll probably end the year every year in the membership. But what we did is we produced a worksheet, we set goals, we talked about these goals, and so I want to give you just a little glimpse of a tool that we used to do that. And so let's look at 6 categories of possible goals that you may want to set. Now you can replace these with your own, you can add some, but this will at least give you a starting point. And what you can do is just pause the video, take a screenshot, or just write these down. So 6 categories you may want to consider when talking about goals for your relationship. The first one is personal goals. And so you can see there's list 2 goals that you may want to accomplish this year. The second is relational goals. And when I say relational, I mean relationships outside of the marriage. So these may be friendships. These may be you as a couple with other couples. But if you watch any of my videos, you know that sometimes we need some of our emotional needs met by good friendships outside of the marriage. Because sometimes we put too much weight on our spouse to be our everything, which I don't think is healthy. And so sometimes you need some outside relational goals to help carry some of the load that you're putting the pressure on your spouse who may not have the capacity to do it. So those are the relational goals. Marriage goals, that's for you two as a couple. Family or household goals, how we manage and run the responsibilities of the household. Some spiritual goals. If you're not a person of faith, you may put intellectual learning goals in there. And then lastly, some financial goals. And this may include you guys coming up with a budget, having a weekly staff meeting around it. But if you have not seen my video or heard me talk about the intentionality in the business of marriage and staff meetings and date nights and all that kind of stuff, you could check out that video as well. But I do think as you're setting goals, it's important to have a weekly time. This may be your staff meeting when you are reviewing our progress towards the goals. You're evaluating, you're making adjustments, because sometimes we set a goal, we don't evaluate it, we never know if we've achieved it. So if you're going to set goals, I think you need a regular weekly, and maybe for you it's a monthly goal check-in instead of every week. But if you already have a weekly staff meeting, great time to do it. Otherwise, set up a time once a month where you can evaluate these goals. So those are 6 categories. You may want to add some other categories to it. I find that for a lot of couples, these 6 categories are helpful for both individual growth, because I believe we have a personal responsibility to our marriage, not just a relational responsibility, and you can check out the video on that as well. But this will help you evaluate some of the goals you've set personally and as a couple in the marriage in some of these different areas. If you've got other stuff you're working towards, side hustles, extra income streams, you may want to add those as goals as well. So here's 6 questions that will help start the discussion around these 6 goal categories. Number 1, what is one area personally you want to work on over this next year? That goes for personal goals. What is one area relationally, again, that's outside of the marriage, you want to focus on this year? What is one area of your marriage you want to focus on this next year? What is one area of the family household responsibilities you would like to work on this next year? What is one area spiritually you would like to focus on this next year? And what is one area financially that you would like to focus on this next year? So again, those are just 6 questions to kind of start the discussion around there as you identify some goals. Like the goal sheet I showed you earlier, we said select 2. You may want to select 3, 4, 5. No, depends on how ambitious you are in these areas. But again, let me remind you what I said earlier, which is if the relational pain becomes greater than your relational purpose, you will want out of your marriage, which is why goal setting and goals and having a purpose and a vision for where you are going in the relationship becomes so important. Like I say, we do stuff like this every month inside the Altered Marriage membership community. If you need some community to help you reach your goals, which most people do because you're not going to do it yourself, or you would have done last year's New Year resolutions by yourself, but some of those are still not checked off because you don't have support and you don't have community and accountability. And so if you need a community of other couples who are trying to strengthen and grow their relationship, check out our Altered Marriage membership community. We'd love to be part of your relationship journey. Drop a couple comments. Let me know what you think, what kind of goals you set. Do you have a regular system of when and how you set goals and evaluate? Let's have a discussion. Maybe something you do can enrich somebody else's lives. And until next time, I'll see you right back here on Relationshots.